Amber called Zoe to tell her about a pool party they planned in Australia. But their chat got cut short because Zoe's dad came in. He noticed she accidentally burned the food she was cooking. Zoe tried to make excuses, but her dad reassured her it was okay and told her he loved her before leaving. Zoe then touched the bracelet her mom gave her before she passed away from cancer. Later, Zoe's school went on a trip to a museum. On the bus, their teacher talked about the history of the place. She mentioned a story about a sorceress who protected the Tree of Life. One student made a joke about reading it in a comic, which stopped the teacher from finishing the story. During the trip, Owen, Zoe's classmate, tried to talk to her, but it annoyed her. Another student, Kay, who usually kept to herself, had to shut Owen up. The rest of the trip was quiet. At the museum, they learned more about the tree's significance. Some students weren't interested. While at the museum, Kay, Owen, and Zoe wandered off and found some interesting artifacts. Owen explained markings on a staff, and Javia warned them to keep quiet. Kay showed Caitlin a funny drawing she made, causing a distraction. Owen accidentally unlocked the staff's secrets, and Zoe picked it up. Their teacher rushed in and took the staff away. They followed the teacher to an ancient library. Zoe tried to explain that nobody touched the box, and the staff just fell out. The teacher told them the staff was made from the Tree of Knowledge and was discovered in 1920 during an archaeological dig. Unsatisfied with the teacher's answers, Owen asked why the staff affected them. The teacher showed them a stone Rubik's Cube, which was strange because people didn't craft with stones back then. She suggested they touch a cube to decode its message. Javia touched it before the teacher finished, and it glowed when they all touched it, except for Zoe. When they touched the stone Rubik's Cube, things got weird fast. Everyone except Javia went into a trance. Zoe heard her mom's voice singing, and it made her touch a cube. Suddenly, they found themselves in a whole different world. Everyone freaked out except for Javia, who was more worried about missing his soccer game. They ended up in a forest and stumbled upon a man who was turning into a tree. He asked if the sorcerer had finally shown up, which confused them even more. Then, something scary started chasing them. The man said they had to face their fears and unlock their powers to survive. As they ran, they got split up. Their teacher encountered the scary thing, called the Beast, and got knocked out. The Beast kept chasing them. Caitlin got hurt, and Zoe tried to save her by pushing her through a tree. Zoe vanished into the tree before the Beast could get her. The next day, their teacher woke up near a tree, acting weird. A tiny forest elf teased her, and she shut them up with a glare. Turns out, she was the sorceress and had been using the kids to help her find missing parts of the staff. She ordered the elves to find the kids. Zoe found herself in a garden, meeting the old man again. She noticed an element symbol on her wrist. Caitlin, Owen, and Javia were exhausted when Kay showed up out of nowhere. She led them to a waterfall where they could hide, but they found an inscription on the wall. Meanwhile, Zoe was still with the old man, trying to figure out what the inscription meant. He explained that they were connected to the elements of the earth and could heal and create things. He kept on explaining to her about the sorcerer, who used to guard the Tree of Knowledge. The sorcerer knew the tree kept people safe, but he got greedy. He left, traveled around, and learned how to take things that weren't his. He made friends with 4 others, and they wanted to control the powers of the elements, like Earth. They tried to go back home, but the sorceress wouldn't let them in. They waited until a terrible sickness hit the land. The sorceress, desperate to save her people, joined forces with them, even though it meant losing her own people and her mind. The sorcerer became obsessed with getting power from the tree. To protect it, they kicked out the sorceress. She tried to find her way back to the tree using magic and portals. He told her they had to find the staff and bring it back. Zoe thought it was all silly and didn't want to help. But he said they had no choice. They had to work together to save themselves from the beast, protect the tree from the sorcerer, and ensure humanity's future. Meanwhile, Kaylee and the others tried to figure out what the writing on the wall meant. Kaylee could read it. Owen thought they needed to represent the 5 elements: earth, fire, water, air, and ether. Zoe went to find her friends. She looked confused and lost when she saw her teacher, who turned out to be the sorcerer. Zoe was shocked. The sorcerer just wanted to save her people. She asked Zoe to bring her the staff, but Zoe refused. The sorcerer warned Zoe that the beast was after her friends. Zoe ran and was chased by the beast. Kaylee and the others tried to create the other elements, but they failed. Owen felt disappointed, but Caitlin encouraged him. Zoe found her friends, with the beast still on her tail. Kay suggested they could decode the wall together now that Zoe was there. Luckily, they succeeded. Zoe told them about the old man and how they smelled like the sorcerer, which is why the beast was after them. They decided to cover themselves in mud to get rid of the sorcerer's scent. They threw mud all over and finally got completely covered. Then they saw a fairy who was hurt. Zoe healed her and said they needed to find the rest of the staff in the tree. They kept going through the woods for days until they met someone who called himself the Keeper of the Crossroads. He tried to scare them, but they weren't scared at all. Kaylee even asked him what he was doing. The Keeper was surprised they could see him. He showed them a sign that said Petersham. When Owen touched it, he turned into ice and vanished. This scared everyone. Javia tried to stand up to the Keeper but was turned into ice too. Caitlin saw her birthplace and was threatened to be sent back there. Kay tried to stop Caitlin, but Zoe explained they were trying to stop the sorcerer and save the Tree of Knowledge. When the Keeper asked what he gained from helping them, they got confused. Kay and Caitlin offered him money, but he refused. He just wanted to see they were serious about their mission. He made them vanish, leaving only Zoe behind. He said he could take her home. Zoe offered him her bracelet, which her mother had given her. Seeing her sincerity, he accepted the bracelet and opened the gate to the crossroads. The gate led Zoe to a snowy land. She felt frustrated and started crying. The sorcerer came to see Zoe and praised her for getting through the gates. Zoe felt frustrated because she felt like she was being used. Meanwhile, Kay and Caitlin were searching for Owen and Javia. They met a strange creature that looked like a human pig. Zoe found Javia, who took her to another creature sowing plants into the snow. Owen found new writing on the wall but was still being chased by the beast. The human pig creature brought Kay and Caitlin to Javia and Zoe. They were entertained by the creatures. They realized Owen was missing. One of the creatures showed them where Owen was. Kay saw the writing on the wall and understood it was talking about a box holding the key to the mirror where they'd find a tree. But the creatures warned them not to look for the box, as many humans before them had died trying. The beast found Owen, but his friends saved him and closed the portal before the beast could come out. The sorcerer arrived at the tree's location but couldn't access it because she had been locked out. She tried to open the gates but failed. She left, promising to return with the staff. Owen showed the group what he found on the walls, and Kay decoded it. The sorcerer appeared again, but only Zoe could see her. Zoe talked to her, and the sorcerer told her they needed to keep moving. Zoe said she couldn't continue the journey. Caitlin saw Zoe talking and thought she was talking to herself. She suggested they go back to the crossroads. Zoe mentioned the old man seeming scared, but Caitlin thought she was referring to their teacher, who she thought was dead. Zoe hadn't told the team their teacher was the sorcerer. They returned to the rest of the team. Owen told Javia that the former elementals had died out. They heard a noise and hid. They saw some elves and got annoyed by their behavior. They left and Zoe started complaining about people dying in the forest. Suddenly, she got sucked into what seemed like quicksand. Her friends tried to help, but the sorcerer told Zoe to ignore them and embrace the darkness. Zoe yelled that she hated the darkness, making the team realize she was talking to someone. Owen said it wasn't a real place. Zoe got sucked in completely, and Owen felt useless. He got sucked in too, and Kay realized they had to give up to get through. They all got sucked in. Caitlin saw a reflection of herself offering to show her where her friends were. Zoe also saw her reflection. Kaylee's reflection told her not to trust people, and Owen's reflection said the same. Zoe followed her reflection. Caitlin resisted hers and warned Javia not to follow his reflection. They met Kaylee, whose reflection was tearing pages from her book. They stopped Owen's reflection too. They noticed Zoe had gone with her reflection, so Caitlin offered to help pull her out. She found Zoe and encouraged her to call herself a hero. She pulled Zoe out, and the reflection said nothing had changed. They escaped the cave and found themselves surrounded by rocks and water, relieved they made it. Zoe said they had to keep going. They continued and finally found a box. The sorcerer appeared and told Zoe to open it. They found it empty. She spoke through Zoe and silenced Javia when he said the staff was the box. Caitlin noticed a shadow around Zoe, making her the second person who could see the sorcerer. The sorcerer appeared visible to the rest of them. Zoe told them she agreed to help the sorcerer. The sorcerer admitted she had been bringing different elementals to help her search for the staff for many years. She confessed she manipulated them to be at the museum and revealed she killed Zoe's mother. Zoe got angry again, knowing her mother was killed because of the sorcerer's plan. Kaylee used a piece of the mirror portal. She had to summon the beast, but the sorcerer stopped him. This allowed Zoe and her friends to escape. Owen scolded Zoe for not telling them about the sorcerer. They were threatened by the beast again, but luckily saved by a fairy Zoe had helped earlier. The fairy told Zoe the beast was Earth's child. Zoe stopped the beast from attacking them and found out he was injured. She pulled out the staff's head stuck in him, causing both her and the beast to pass out. They were visited again by the sorcerer, who demanded the staff's head. Owen stood up to her and got killed, as did Caitlin. Zoe finally woke up from her coma and handed over the head to the sorcerer. The sorcerer used Zoe as a guide to get through the tree's gate. Zoe met the old man again, who revealed the sorcerer was his sister. He apologized for causing her to go insane, but she yelled at him, saying she fixed his mess. She planned to use the power of the staff to remake the broken world. He posed as an obstacle, and she used the staff to kill him. Zoe couldn't heal him, but he told her not to worry as it was his time to go. He reminded her that one tree is all trees before passing away. The sorcerer then demanded Zoe give her access to the trees, but Zoe refused. She destroyed the tree, and the sorcerer went inside and died with it. Zoe's friends scolded her for destroying the tree, but she asked them to help her grow another one. Then she stopped breathing. They found a way to go back home, and school continued as normal, but they all still had their powers.